Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making a clamp rack. Some of you have made some comments online on the various builds that I do on different forums or here on YouTube on my channel about my clamps. And I'll tell you, you can never have too many clamps. Don't believe what your wife says, she's lying to you. But I ended up purchasing 10 of these light duty clamps, and although they're not going to hold together a big table lamination, they'll be great for some of the model builds that I do. But now I need somewhere to put them. So some of you have seen the way that I hang these here, and it's a great little way to hang them if you're in a small shop like what I have, where real estate throughout the shop is pretty much at a premium. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to take the measurements and make a custom clamp rack to hold whatever clamps you may have around your shop. Well, this entire project is going to be made out of scrap pieces of 3/4 inch ply. And what you want to do first is you want to gather up all the clamps that you want on one rack. And you want to start taking some measurements. So let's head over to the bench and we're going to start doing that. So what you want to do is you want to decide how many of your clamps are actually going to be housed onto this board. And for me, I'd like to have them all on there. So what I'm doing here now is I'm just placing all the clamps on this board just so that I can get a measurement as far as how long of a piece I'm going to need in order to house all 10 of these clamps. So I've got 2 more on here. So once I get this screwed into place, I can then take a measurement. And what you want to do now is you want to get a measurement from the tip end here all the way to where the last clamp ends. And then for my purposes, I like to leave about another 1.5 to 2 inches. So if we take a measurement, we're looking at approximately 10 inches here. And then if I leave a couple for just wiggle room, you know, you're looking at about a 12-inch length. So that for me actually works pretty well. This board here just happens to be the right dimension as far as the length goes. But what about the width? So we've determined that this length here is fine for our clamp rack, and I said it was 10 inches from here to here, leave a couple inches for wiggle room. I think this is actually about 13 inches. Just check that for you. It's 13. I'm good with that extra inch. Anyway, now we need the width of the board. So we got 13 long, and what you want to do is decide how you want your clamps to hang. And for these, I would like the clamps to hang in this type of configuration. So what I want to do is take this measurement right here between the top of the clamp where it will hang and the bottom here, you know, to give it a little bit of structural strength. And for this here, it looks like about 1.25 inches. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this piece of plywood and I'm going to rip an 1.25 inch strip off of it, and that will be our main rod to hang our clamps from. Well, we've got our piece cut, and it's 1.25 inches wide, and truth be told, I trimmed up the edges here, made it a little bit shorter just to make sure that these ends are square to the length. And I used a compound blade for that. What I had in there before was a fine cross-cut blade. If you guys are doing your woodworking using just one blade for everything, cross-cut, rips, the whole 9 yards, you're really cutting yourself short on the quality of your work. You'll be really amazed if you use the proper blade for the proper purpose. So with that being said, now I'm going to step down off my soapbox and carry on with the build. So we got our length. Now the offcut here is 4.5 inches wide, and what we need is a base plate to mount this rack to the wall. So just like every other project I do, it's not rocket science. Do whatever you want, but for me this is already 4.5. So I'm going to square off one end and I'm going to make a 4.5 inch square for our base plate for the wall. Well, we have our two pieces, our support for our clamps and our wall plate. That's all the pieces there is. I told you this wasn't rocket science. But what we want to do now is we want to mark the center of this piece, and on the diagonals a hole 1 inch in from every corner. Now you could just draw a line from corner to corner, but you guys know I like my gadgets, so I'm going to cheat just a little bit, and I'm going to use this center finder and mark these holes like that. Now you can see there, I don't know if you can see that, that gave me my center here, and it gave me some diagonal lines here in each corner to mark in 1 inch. So from the corner here, 1 inch, just like that, and just like that, and another inch over here, like that. And what we want to do now is we want to get a square, because I should have had this ready before, and on the center line right here you want to draw a vertical line for the center. Okay, so let's see what we've got there. We've got the center line, and we've got 4 X's, one in each corner for our mounting holes. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take this over to the drill press, and we're going to drill and countersink 4 holes in this plate. Don't worry about the center for now, we're going to deal with that after. I'm back from the drill press, and what I've got here is I've got 4 3/16 of an inch holes, and I've countersunk all 4 to allow for the screw heads. I've also drilled a 3/16 hole in that center mark that we put into the piece, and I've countersunk it on the back. That's important, so pay attention to that there, that you've got your 4 mounting screws on the front that are countersunk, and this one center hole is countersunk on the rear of the piece. So with that being said, now we need to set up a dado blade. Well, if you're a regular on the show and you've seen my woodworking show before, you'll know about this little gadget that we made not too long ago, and that is my dado storyboard. And what we want to do here is we want to figure out what it's going to take to get a dado this size. And this storyboard really helps with the setup, so you get one shot deal with it and there's no mucking around. So if you guys haven't made yourself one of these yet, what are you waiting for? So here we are here. This one here is too loose. This one here is too tight. So if we flip this one over, this is 4 large, and that one there seems pretty good. So we will go with that one, which says 4 large chippers. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my dado blade, and I'll show you what to do from there. I've got my dado blade set up, and just like the storyboard told me, with the 2 outside blades and then the 4 large chippers, I've also got it set so that it will cut a dado halfway into this board. So this is a 3/4 board, so we've got the dado blade set at a height of 3/8 of an inch. So what you want to do is you want to set your fence so that on the side that has the counter sunk holes for mounting, you want to set it so that the dado is run on that side of the board. So what we've got here is we've got our fence set, and we're gonna use a push pad here and run this through. Guys, do yourselves a favor, please don't push this through using your hands. Use a push pad or something to keep your hands away from this blade. Unless you've got a couple pesky fingers on your hand that you want to get rid of, don't push this through with your hands. So there you go, another soapbox on the video, safety tip of the day, and I'm going to plug my saw in here and go ahead and run this dado. There you go, dado's cut. And what we're going to do now, and it's really this simple, is this support piece that we made, we're going to place it in here with a little bit of glue. We're going to drill a pilot hole up through this center hole that we drilled so that we don't split this wood apart. And we're going to put a number 8 by 2-inch screw right up in through this thing. And of course with some glue in the dado. Don't put a lot of glue in here because you don't want it oozing out the sides this way. I know that this dado is really huge. We could have put like a mortise and tenon type joint, and if you want to go that far with your clamp holder, well you can, but for me, I mean, it's a clamp holder. I change my shop around like 2-3 times a year sometimes, so these things sometimes don't become permanent fixtures. So anyway, let's go ahead and drill that pilot hole and get the 2-inch screw placed in here and get this support glued in. Well, we've got a little bit of squeeze out down in the bottom of here, and if any of you have ever watched my builds, you know I love Q-tips for that. So I'm going to get a couple Q-tips, clean up the squeeze out in here, and then we're going to go ahead and take it over to the wall and we're going to mount it. So as I was saying earlier, real estate's at a premium here on this clamp wall, and this here is really the only place I can mount that clamp rack. So I'd like for it to sit right in about there, just like that. So first things first that I want to do here is I'm just going to put one screw in just to tack it in place. So we'll start with that. Now, you guys can do it however you want, but I'm one of these guys that likes to have everything straight and level. So I'm going to stick a bubble stick on there, or for you guys that like technical terms, you can call it a level if you like. I'm going to get it leveled up and drive another screw in it. And of course now I'll just add the last two and just check it with the bubble stick. Looks good. And I'll add the last two screws into this. And for this I'm only using number 8s by 1.5 inches. Like I said, these clamps are not very heavy. So we'll get that one in, and lastly that one there. Now all that's left to do is hang our clamps. And there you have it. Clamp rack. Once again guys, not fine woodworking, but awfully damn practical. Does a great job. Keeps them out of the drawer, you know, where they're all piled on top of each other. You're pulling one out, they're hooked on 4 more, like that old game Barrels of Monkeys, remember that? Where they were all hooked together. When you throw your clamps in a drawer, that's what happens. This way they're all up on the wall. They're out of your way, they're easy to access, no tangling, no muss, and they don't get damaged this way either. So whether it's one like this that we just built today, or if you've got a heavier clamp like bar clamps, as you can see here in this picture, what I've done is instead of just having that straight bar sticking out, it's a triangular thing. Supports a heck of a lot more weight and makes it much more stable for the clamps. I've even done them with the black ABS pipe, as you can see here, for things like strap clamps, or in the case of this one, you've got those, I don't even know what they call them, but they're almost like a ratchet clamp, but they work better in a bar application. I ended up mounting the outright piece on a horizontal level, as you can see here, for the miter clamps, and that does a really great job of that as well. So you're really only limited by your imagination, and if you don't have the room in your shop for one of those clamp trolleys that you see some guys have, if you got a small shop like mine, this is definitely an option that is going to help you out. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this week's show, and like I said, don't listen to your wife. You can never have too many clamps. I'm going to see you again next week with yet another. Just one last thing to note on mounting these racks, guys. If you're going to do it with heavier clamps like the 4-foot bar clamps and that sort of thing, try to hit a stud in the wall. I mean, you're going to need that extra support. You don't want those clamps to come crashing down. So where possible, hit a stud in the wall, guys. Give it that extra support that it needs to be able to handle the weight of the clamps. Again, guys, thanks for watching. With yet another woodworking video.